Certainly
Well,
are. Jillian, here is the state of play right now on the board behind me. This is Iran's ballistic missile estimations. This is essentially what the regime has to fight at the moment. About 3,000 total capacity, of which anywhere between 1,000 to 2,000 have the ability to travel the distance from Tehran to Tel Aviv, and that's very significant, as we can show you the map here, okay? Tehran to Israel, Tel Aviv, let's say, is about 1,000 miles, okay? So not the entire ballistic missile arsenal can get there. So the Iranians have a decision to make depending on how many can travel this distance, 1,000 miles from Tehran. In addition now, you have at least 400 that have been fired. Some estimates say about 450 thus far. So the Iranian leadership and the military have these decisions to make as to how long they want to go with this ballistic missile supply. Also, you've got, according to the IDF, 120 missile launchers that have been taken out. That is critical if you cannot have the capacity to deliver the missiles toward Iran and affect the damage on the ground. Talked about Iran yesterday. Borders closed with Azerbaijan, borders closed down here with Pakistan. The airspace is closed as well. Iran is a massive country. It's about the size of Alaska. It's about 2 times the state of Texas. You could put 75 Israels inside of Iran, a country of 90 million people. Tehran's got about 10 million, plus another 8 to 9 million in the metropolitan area of Tehran. It's highly dense, it's populated, and it's very large, a big challenge for the Israelis and perhaps the U.S. as well. One key significant factor we've noticed over the past 6 days. Who is supporting Iran? Well, here are the headlines now from the Jerusalem Post. Iran remains isolated 5 days into the strikes. New York Times, despite close ties with Iran, Russia stands aside as Israel attacks. In addition to that, what's Beijing doing, right? China sides with Tehran but wields little influence in the Iran-Israeli war, which shows you how isolated this regime has become. I'm going to move over here for a second. Jimmy, Dan Senor is the former foreign policy advisor for President Bush. Got a great podcast, too, called me back. And Dan, good morning to you.
Good to be with you, Bill.
Welcome to our coverage here. This comes from the Institute for the Study of War, Jack Keane and others. They write this. Iran has used significantly fewer munitions in its response to Israel than originally planned because the IDF destroyed and damaged missile launchers and silos that Iran planned to use to retaliate against Israel. We are on day 6. Can Israel manage this alone?
Israel can manage the defense of Israel alone. Israel can continue to do serious damage to Iran's military assets, its military leadership, and its nuclear program, with the exception of Fordo. That is the big question mark. Fordo, as you know, is this enrichment capability or asset that's deep, hunkered down into bunkers, basically, very hard to access. And it's not, I mean, the Israelis say they have some capabilities that could tackle Fordo. They've done Natanz. The question is, can they do Fordo? They say they have capabilities to do Fordo. The Americans, the U.S. definitely has the capacity to do Fordo. I think Israel's capabilities are probably there, but they will be messy and they will take longer. And I think the U.S., if the U.S. participated in some way, would be a much cleaner shot.
So we've heard a lot from the president so far today, and I think it was yesterday when he said unconditional surrender, or perhaps that was Monday. Things are running together. But significant that J.D. Vance said this yesterday. People are right to be worried about foreign entanglement after the last 25 years of idiotic foreign policy. But I believe the president has earned some trust on this issue. He's only interested in using the American military to accomplish American people's goals. Is the administration getting warmer to the possibility of war?
Yes. Well, they've already gotten warm to the possibility of war because there is a war going on that the U.S. supports. The only question is, as one Republican U.S. Senator put it to me the other day, who has been talking to President Trump, he said, to finish this off, Israel has done all the difficult, dirty work. It has cleared the path now for the U.S. to come in the end and finish it off. Israel could probably finish it off, as I said earlier, which is, again, Fordo. But he said Israel's chance of success doing it on its own is much lower. If the U.S. finishes it off, the success rate is 90% plus.
So on that, what is the calculation on behalf of the commander-in-chief? If this does not go as planned, if it goes sideways, not just in Iran, but our military installations throughout the Middle East, or perhaps Americans who are living abroad, or even here at home? Keep in mind, we had how many millions of people walk across that border for 4 years?
I think the big question for the president is, if this doesn't wrap up cleanly and soon, you will have this war dragging on, right? Israel is not going to pull back, and presumably Iran is not going to pull back. What does that look like? What does that look like to Israel? What does it look like to Iran? And what does it look like to the region? A. B. Never forget that Iran has been a threat to the United States and the West for decades. I mean, literally after Al-Qaeda, you can't think of a bigger source of terrorism. You can't think of an entity or a country that has more American blood on its hands than Iran. American military, I saw it firsthand in Iraq, where they were killed by terrorists supported by Iran, directly by the Iranian military. They run rabid all over the world, threatening American interests. So this is the best shot President Trump has since the revolution in 1979 to put the Iranian threat away. He would be the president that makes this thing go away. If he did, the man would deserve the Nobel Peace Prize.
Last question. The Supreme Leader was out 3 hours ago. He rejected surrender. He rejected unconditional surrender, whatever the phrase was at the time. What cards does he have today?
Look, I don't think he has many. On my podcast this morning, I interviewed an expert who's lived in Iran, who's Kareem Sajapour, who's an expert on Iran. He says he can't think of many cards, any cards Iran has right now. And the problem is with the Supreme Leader is he's old, he's dug in, he's deeply ideological, and he's really uncompromising. The Iran deal he did in 2015 with Obama, which was an enormously generous deal to Iran, was considered by him a massive capitulation. This is not a man who wants to make real concessions. So unfortunately, Iran does not have many cards right now. And for the Iranian people, what's tragic is they have a leader who's in his 80s and does not seem to be prepared to change his ways.
Day 6 and we push on. Dan, it's great to get your
Great to be with you, Bill.
analysis today.
Thank you.
Dan Senor, thanks.
Thanks.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.